and welcome to another MENA Spring Sessions workshop. Hello from Riyadh, perfect. So this evening we are going to be looking or exploring assessment for learning. I don't have very much to say as an introduction. I'm just going to pass over to my colleague Mab, and she will introduce herself, and then we will get going. People are joining us, Mab, so we are live.
Thank you very much, Nathan. I'm really happy to be with you, all of you, this afternoon. My name is Shalchi. I work for Macmillan Education, and I will be talking to you about assessment for learning with the global stage. And so I expect that some people who have joined us are already using global stage, and I myself, Nathan, took the opportunity to invite other teachers who like the title and want to use it in the coming, in future, in the coming months, perhaps. And so, welcome, and moving forward with the next slide. Today, we're going to cover assessment. And so my question is, how many types of assessment do you know as teachers? And when or how would you use them? So what do you think? You can type in the chat box. Yes, thank you very much. Formative assessment. Summative assessment. Thank you. And so which one do you think is most important to us today when what we're going to cover? Which one do you think is the one that we're really concerned about to cover today? Thank you. So it's yes. Okay, so formative, and moving to the next slide. Assessment at the end of a specific period of time is a different kind of assessment, and it has limited time. It has a form, it has a use and a purpose. So you can actually see that this kind of assessment we use at the end of the unit, end of term, mid-year, or end of year. And this, all the time we do this, and it's what do we call it? What do you call this kind of assessment? Thank you very much. Yes, you call it the summative assessment. Thank you. And so the other kind of assessment is the formative assessment. It's the assessment that takes place at all stages of the learning process. The form is ongoing monitoring during the learning process, and it's qualitative feedback to help identify strengths and weaknesses and target areas that need work. So the purpose is to recognize where students are struggling and address problems immediately to improve performance. Students' levels are revealed on a daily basis This helps to allow faster progress for learners as they work closely with their teacher. And this kind of assessment is the assessment that we need as teachers all the time in order for us to be able to help our students. So on daily basis, what you need to do as a teacher is follow and track what your students are showing, what they're giving you, and you do not rely at the end at the end of the unit, the end of the term, to decide on their achievements and how well they did. And so with this, the formative assessment, you're helping your students to build their abilities on daily basis. You're also helping yourself, by the way, as a teacher, to understand more about their levels and your plans. You know, you're helping yourself to plan better in, of course, in accordance to what you need to help them, help your students at every lesson. So what does an AFL teacher do? What do you think the features of this teacher should be? Okay, think about it. So I will show you. A teacher has to find out previous knowledge, experience at the start of every lesson. And we all know that this is very, very important. If you want to understand levels of your students, you should know their previous knowledge about a certain topic that you're going to discuss with them, you're going to cover. The other thing is assess individual students' needs and progress by observing and monitoring them throughout the lesson, unit, and level. And so as an AFL teacher, you should be able to do that. And like I mentioned a little while ago, that you're actually observing all the time. A teacher should be able to observe how they work during activities. And notice where students have difficulties. And provide effective feedback either by assertion of proper progress or showing the better response. And so I'm sure most of you teachers, you do this all the time during classes. But what we need to think about is that we need to focus in order for us to be effective AFL teachers. We need to focus on certain points. We need to pay attention that we're actually assessing individual students, we're monitoring, we're observing, and we know that they have difficulties at some point that we need to help them with. the key principles for the AFL approach. So we're trying to contribute to creating the 21st century classroom. And so 21st century learner is a learner who will become an autonomous learner, an independent learner, after we actually support and have this learner practice many points inside the classroom. And so Global Stage also focuses on the social emotional learning. And so we want to create an atmosphere in the classroom that develops all of those points and aim to make sure that all students can achieve the objectives. You need them to believe in their abilities, and you need also to believe that they can learn. Okay, and so because we all know that everyone has the ability to learn, and you focus on supporting all students to achieve. So key principles would be to communicate confidence that every student can improve, encourage learning and promote motivation by emphasizing progress and achievement. And this point is actually very, very important, because sometimes teachers tend to praise the outcome, and so you did a great job, this is a fantastic answer, and so what you need to do, in another slide we'll come to this and talk about it in detail, is that what you need to do is actually to emphasize the process itself, and not the results, what they came, what came at the end. To believe that ability is learned, like we said, and to support all students to be able to become achievers, because this is the aim, this is what we want. We want to create, again, the independent, autonomous learner, the person who is so confident of standing there on their own and knows that they can achieve. Formative assessment by lesson. So for those who are using Global Stage, what do you do? What kind of formative assessment do you apply? Okay, thank you. Rubrics, games. Yes, games, beautiful, definitely. A lot of them with Global Stage. And so projects, sure. Number of strategies, the KWL, self and peer review, traffic. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. Yes. Exactly. So Global Stage provides formative assessment of students' learning in each type of lesson and for each level. Global Stage has many suggestions for getting students engaged in reflection and peer or self-assessment. And so reflection, peer, self-assessment. By the way, it does not have to be in English. If you have, of course, I'm sure you've been through the teacher book and the many other booklets that are provided in the platform. And so it mentions that when reflecting and asking students to reflect when having those peer and self assessment, you do not have to, it doesn't have to be in English for the lower grades. What do I mean by that? Let's take grade 1 and grade 2, for example. If they are not able to express themselves in English, you can have them use their first language to communicate their ideas to each other, while you as a teacher provide words that they can use to express themselves to you. And so having the conversation between them in their first language would help them put together the ideas, and then you could help by repeating certain words that you want them to use in English. So when they talk to you, they use those words. Okay, but when they're talking to each other, you're making it easier for them, just to help them communicate, and then you're teaching them the strategy. Okay, they'll focus on you, and they will catch those words that you want them to use. This is how it is implemented. For the language book vocabulary lessons assessment, you've got parts where it's controlled practice and parts where it's critical thinking. What do you do when you have an activity of controlled practice or another activity of critical thinking? You encourage peer support and have students check their ideas with their partners, like we said, and they can use their first language. It's no problem if they're grade 1, grade 2, but are not yet used to the strategies that you're showing them. And then you circulate and check understanding while they discuss the topic on the table, and you then have feedback time after a pair work activity, so students see the purpose of the activity and feel their work is valued. This is the most important point, because I know in Jordan it's a little bit let's say pressuring, if I may use the word. Most of the teachers follow a plan, and the plan follows timing, timetables, and so they have to finish by a certain date, and so they feel that they're unable to give ample time to what they practice inside the classroom. And so I want everyone to feel relaxed, to feel that you can do it. And once you start those strategies and the students understand the benefit of them and see that you're really giving them rewards, whether grades, whether you've decided to show them, let's say, give them like stickers, smiley faces, anywhere on the book. The process of learning will move faster, and you won't worry about the following the time all the time. And so reflecting on learning vocabulary assessment this time, let's say that here you have to use some sort of assessment, and so the assessment here is to create a grid with students' names down the left side. You've taught them vocabulary, and so you have created the grid. And then you choose 2 to 3 different students to observe each time. You do the cool down and make a few notes after the lesson on how they're doing. In addition to learning, you think about behavior, participation, cooperation, etc. So you're actually testing their vocabulary, and you have put their names on the grid, and you are also you're also supporting them with if they're in their good behavior and participation and cooperation with each other. Refer the students back to the lesson objectives and elicit what they did, the activities during the lesson to achieve these. So we always, like we said, we always refer back and check. Check understanding by having learners draw a face to show how confident they are about the unit content. So if they're really ready to move on, they learn to draw a smiley face. This is a face for the fairly confident, and the sad face is to show you that they need to review more. What is peer assessment and self-assessment? Why is it important to encourage more peer and self-assessment in the language classroom? So what is it? Can you please write down what you think about this, your answers? Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Rabina. The teacher should be a good listener. Definitely picking one of the students to make them explain to others, absolutely wonderful. Okay, so like we said before, peer assessment and self-assessment, both are very important. They help students move forward confidently. And why is it important to encourage this? Because of the independent learning, because we want them to feel that, especially English as a language that they might not use as much at home as they use Arabic. We know that, I mean, for us, Arabic, but we know that a lot of English words might come up in a conversation, but we want them to feel secure and encouraged to do more and develop their English. So this slide here, as you can see, says that the development of effective self and peer assessment can take time and effort. However, once fully embedded into teaching and learning, these approaches can be particularly effective in motivating pupils to move forward in their learning. It is recommended that peer assessment should be introduced first, only moving on to self-assessment when both teachers and pupils are fully comfortable with the former. I think this is very easy to understand, because basically all of you have experienced, I'm sure, this in your classrooms during your lessons. It is at the beginning, it is a little bit hard to get your students to to let's say feel that they're engaged and they need to put effort into what you're asking them to do. And so at the beginning, you're going to need to push them to actually enjoy the kind of assessment that you need them to work on. And once they get the full idea, they will start to enjoy it. And so this is why, peer assessment is very important at the beginning, because you might have some, let's say, shy students, ones who don't want to participate, don't want to talk, and so they start pushing each other, and they start having the shared idea, and so this actually builds confidence in both of them, both students, the one who's a little bit more active than the other one, and of course the other one who doesn't want to share at the beginning, but will start to eventually, gradually. And so this is why a teacher needs to be very patient. Moving on to the next slide, here it says self-assessment is a process during which students reflect on the quality of their work, compare it to explicitly stated criteria, judge how well their work reflects the criteria, and make appropriate revision. Again, just like a few slides ago, when we had a certain criteria that we look up to and work on accordingly, this is what assessment is all about. So especially self-assessment, if you want to have a final result that is that is a result that will support all of their learning, you should have an explicit criteria that they understand and they know how to relate to. And so it helps both you and your students. It's a step to move forward comfortably. This is This slide is okay, so the slide before really helps students reflect on the quality of their work and judge the degree to which it reflects, you know, it reflects their learning and the goals. Because again, we said that we're following a criteria here. Here is a learning wall practice as a function of social emotional learning, or language, or knowledge, or even more. So what you need to do here is to make a learning wall from a poster paper where students can post positive feedback, comments about others, but how would you plan this activity for the younger learners, and how will you make them participate? So you have a wall, a learning wall on a poster paper, and you need them to write feedback about each other. It has to be positive. And so you're actually, you want to see that they can use language and they can actually use steps to express themselves. So if you had the younger learners, the ones who don't have, in let's say, not yet, they have not yet built their bank of vocabulary, how would you help them to learn through practicing on the wall? Yes, thank you. Yes, I like this, Sumaira. Yes, exactly. Stick post-it notes. Yeah, definitely. You do a word wall. Yes, and yeah. Yeah, okay. It does give a sense of belonging. I agree. Okay, so for younger learners, you might want to actually help by cutting, cardboard figures of thumbs up, and or writing things already. You already write things and you ask them to choose them and put them on the wall, stick them on the wall. Definitely, I totally agree. When they have something before the task, it becomes easier for them to participate. This activity is called the 3 things activity. At the end of the lesson, you could ask your students to make a list of 2 things they've learned and 1 thing they still need to learn. So most teachers often do this 3 things, but it's actually not easy to know what you still need to learn. So here, how would you practice this again with the younger learners? Any ideas? Have you practiced it before with your students? But yes, it's similar, yes. Yes, Jamila. Any more ideas? I totally agree, Nathan. It is, and so you do sometimes, yes. And so what you do is you, let me move to, yes. So this is, if you can see the sheet here on the right side, it says 1, 2, 3, and you review the process. 3 things you've learned, 2 things that were really very interesting, and the big question. Consider what the kind of support you could give to the learners to complete this task. What can you do if you need them to think about it, especially for the younger learners? How would you need to support them? What's the best thing? And remember, a few slides ago we talked about something assessment, and so it was peer assessment and self-assessment, and we said when we're working together it becomes really easier to gather information. Yes, definitely. So how would you do this if you're going to practice 1, 2, 3 with them? You just talked about a topic, you explained all of it. It is. Students reflect on their learning progress and what they still need to learn. Very efficient. Okay. And yes, it is reflecting, yes. Looking back, so. And so here's the thing, what you do, you could ask them to work in pairs, because there was a comment about students not being able to figure out what they've missed. And so they might actually tell you that they liked this and they liked that because it was repeated many times during the lesson. But what they tend to miss the point where they did not really understand. And so what you actually need them to do is to work with each other. Yes. And so you ask them to share the idea, and they come up with the thing, or the let's say the one point that they didn't quite get during that lesson. it might be better. Yes.
I have a question. So we are saying with this activity, because when we see this activity in a course book, it's right at the end of a unit. So we quite often think that it's something that students need to do by themselves, right? So it's like, okay, we've done the unit, now fill this in, and then we'll move on to the next unit. But what you're saying is actually that big question doesn't need to be each person coming up with their own. We could do it collectively in groups or as a class. What is our big question? And make that interactive. Is that what you're saying?
Definitely.
Okay.
Because you just said it, Nathan. It's at the end of the unit, and I do not want to move to another topic unless I am really sure that they have understood. I've covered the objectives, and unless I ask my students to give me feedback, of course I will never know that. And what's the best way to do this is by asking them to give a collective feedback, and in a way, just having it like it's to me it feels like a game. They'll enjoy it. So and you'll enjoy it as a teacher, of course, because you're going to refer back to things that you already taught them, and it's like you're recycling the information at the very end of the unit, and so it's really very healthy for all in the classroom. And by the way, they will always remember what they talked about together and the feedback that they gave you as a teacher. So never skip that. And so this one is 2 stars and a wish. It's a peer or self-assessment activity again, and this is, as you can see, you've got an example from a page in the book. The teacher has to participate in this activity, and you will see why. Drawing students' attention to the role model that she has to role play with the student volunteer. So it's like a conversation. The aim of this activity is again for 2 stars, 2 things that were really marvelous, that you did very well. This is like the teacher here in the conversation is saying, this is a really interesting paragraph. I like it. Student says, thank you. Teacher says, and I think you included some new words too, but you didn't include the word because. And so here we know that it could be, for example, a writing activity. And so the teacher is expressing how much he liked the paragraph, and because the student has followed all the points, but the student missed out on the word because. So 2 stars, like you can see, and then the wish. So next time, the student will get it right, hopefully, by you would like them to actually write all of this or rewrite it so that you can read it again in a way that they would come back to and learn more from. Growth mindset. This is to keep in mind that all students are good learners, and they will achieve the learning goal once they're encouraged and motivated to use potential skills. It helps, this helps teachers to both set realistic expectations when asking students to work, And also it helps provide a level of comfort inside the classroom. So the assessment for learning helps develop a growth mindset amongst both teachers and students through, again, setting high but realistic expectations. And of course, as teachers who teach global stage, you will definitely notice this. Praising effort, again, we said we do not want to praise the outcome. What we want to do is we always want to praise the effort, the technique, the gained knowledge that led to the outcome. Praising perseverance, and giving specific feedback to reduce the gap between where the student is and where they're meant to be. And so praise needed, the praise, we all know as teachers that the praise that we need to give to our students is the one that will help them process and develop, achieve. It is more valuable to the growth mindset. If you want them to have the growth mindset, this is what you push all the time inside the classroom. With the AFL, it is important that students don't compare themselves with others, but rather, what would you like them to do? If it is not important for you as an AFL teacher to compare, to have them to compare them with each other, what would you have them rather do, or what would you do with your students? I don't want them to compare. I want them to work together, but I don't want teachers to compare students to each other in front of them. But I would love if they, what do you think? Compare what? Any ideas? You want, thank you. Thank you very much, Jamila. Progress. What kind of progress? Most probably their own. Yes, their progress. Thank you. Yes, their progress and efforts. Thank you. Their answers. Yes, definitely. This is what we want them to do. It is most important that they compare the point where they were before to what they've reached. So this helps them to do what? To realize what? Yeah, they compare their progress, and yes, and their hard work. Thank you very much. And they can recognize it, definitely. And you as a teacher would recognize it also. Compare their efforts. And so comparing themselves, knowing that they were at a certain point. Thank you. Yes, thank you, Faris. To recognize, yes, definitely. Definitely, you're all, thank you very much. This is excellent participation. Thank you. Love you guys. Comparing where they are now to where they were before. And so learning strategies to help them become better and acknowledging their mistakes, acknowledging, this is another thing, that if they had made, for example, mistakes, that it's healthy, it's useful, it's helpful, they're going to develop. And so the lovely thing about this is as students in such classrooms, there is no fear of anything anymore. I can try anything. I can use things, strategies that the teacher is showing me, and I'm not afraid of making mistakes. I'm confident. I can share ideas. Anything is right, and you know, I can experiment. And so the only thing that I need to keep on doing is using the language. I want to keep on using English. And so I have a teacher who is supporting me with all of this. This leads to the growth mindset that we want to achieve inside the classroom with all of our students. So what is feedback? Very, very basically. Thank you, Maya. Discovery, yes, thank you. Discovery factor is crucial in the process. Thank you, Cesar. Okay, so thank you. Yes, comments of teacher on progress. This is feedback, very important part of learning. Feedback is a must. Feedback is the most important. Manar, yes, thank you. Why is it the most important, do you think, Manar? Can you explain a little bit further? So, yeah. To improve my strategy, yes, definitely. Definitely, and goals. Thank you very much. And the goals, definitely. So constructive feedback helps students improve, and feedback gives you an idea of how things went. Yes, and achievements gives you foreshadowing step for the required outcomes. Thank you very much. Thank you. Those are very, very lovely answers. And so feedback is very important. It is basically very important for the students whom we're teaching. It's very important to us, like you just mentioned, as teachers, because we want to move forward in a properly planned way. Because at the end, we want them to benefit from every bit of all of the lessons that we're giving them. And feedback, by the way, is also very important to parents. And some parents, I believe, are still a little bit traditional, and they kind of, you know, they're stuck to those grades that are given on official papers at the end of every term. And so we need also to have the growth mindset you know, with parents also to have them practice the growth mindset and to actually get them used to the different kind of feedback that is most essential for their children's understanding and for their language, also development of language. Yes, yes, thank you. And so, as teachers, we've all been we have all seen this kind of helpless looking children or students. And so what can you do when you see something like that? What do you think you can do? Oh, thank you, Monica. Definitely. And how would you ease out their issues? So what could they be facing here? Okay, so they could be they could need assistance from you, most definitely. So what you do is you try to give them the feedback that they need. And what types of giving feedback have most influence on improving learners? Feedback has characteristics. And so in order for it to be useful, it has to be goal related. So it has to be focused on an objective, and it has to be user friendly, meaningful, personalized, get them to work on it, and timely, given as soon as possible, so they relate it to what they have learned. This is why you're giving us the feedback, because you had just tested us on something that we have learned. Consistent, ongoing, and actionable, which means that it's informative and specific. And research says that it will have an extremely strong impact on learning and achievement, and can lower the number of failing students if you follow proper feedback points. So those were the characteristics of useful feedback to improve learning. And so again, goal related, user friendly, timely, consistent, ongoing, and actionable. And sorry. And so students' feedback to back up teacher feedback is also very, very important. You should, as a teacher, always take into consideration students' interests, their learning preferences, their knowledge of the material that you are discussing with them, and their experience. We've all noticed that when you personalize the question, you get more answers, you get more participation from students. And so again, like we mentioned before, mistakes and difficulties, they shouldn't feel like the end to a student. Mistakes and difficulties should make a student feel like, I want to correct things, I want to move forward. So this is actually your part. This is what you do as a teacher to help. Students' feedback to back up the teacher feedback, just as learning can be established through whole class instruction, group work, pair work, or individually, feedback can also be given to the class as a whole during group work or pair work, or individually. And so we all know that it's the fact that we need to apply it more in the classroom. And with Global Stage, you will be able to do that because you have so many activities that support this. Okay, so how to share objectives with students using student-friendly language. So the objective for the teacher would be to learn how to use the present progressive for future plans. And so the objectives in the teacher's book are written for the purpose of lesson planning. They're not intended for students. Students are not, they're not intended for students' use in their form. The teacher has to make it, sensible to students. Often they need to be rephrased using student-friendly language to focus on learner ability and engaging them in the learning process through motivation. This page that you see in front of you has come out of the handbook. And so the handbook for assessment for learning that you have in the platform. And so you could go back to it and learn more about this. And if you are someone who would like to use Global Stage for next year, then you will have access for all of this also. And this has this actually it has many ideas to develop students asking questions. If you will see that most of the time what we want to do is we want to flip the roles. So instead of me as a teacher asking questions all the time and waiting for replies, what I want to do is to build students' inquiry and motivate them to always want to learn more through asking questions. So it says here, while for the student it will be rephrased to I can ask and answer questions about future plans. For example, here, when we've got a point that is covering grammar. Okay, and so this is what you want to do with your students. This is how they will understand it, in a way that you would like them to understand it. Because if they keep on receiving questions from you all the time, believe me, they're not using their thinking, their critical thinking, and the process of thinking is usually slower when you're giving, when you're trying to find answers all the time. But when you are the one who is thinking about the question and how to phrase it, it really requires more thinking, and it really requires more concentration. What do I want to ask? What is the answer that I need to find out, to reach? And so I hope you do relate to this, because even us, when we try to put a question, is different from just trying to find an answer. This is the KWHL chart. What do I know? What do I want to learn? How will I find out? What have I learned? I love this chart, by the way, and I used to use it a lot as a teacher. And it is one of those tools that at the beginning you find that your students are really moving at a very slow pace with it. But once they get used to it, they will look forward to it. They can't wait to put their ideas on the chart. What do you do with younger students? Again, here, what would you do with younger students? The ones who remember, the ones who might not have enough vocabulary to express themselves. Any ideas? Come on. Come on. Visual aids, yes. Show them pictures. Definitely ask questions so they can think about the knowledge they have. Yes, yes. Visuals, elicit questions through visual aids or touching sounds, yes. Hand move. So you could have stickers that are related, of course, to the topic that they can stick on the chart. You could make them draw things. You could have, you know, anything. Thank you, jigsaw. Yeah, yeah, possible. Why not? Yes. So you get the idea. Thank you very much. Teaching beyond the test with global stage. This is the fun part, of course, with global stage. All of you who taught global stage have an idea about this. It's the dual approach engaging course. And it's developing students' thinking and self-management skills. It supports children in learning language beyond test purposes, which is, I am sure, not only from my point of view, but from a lot of you out there who share my same point of view, that we need children to learn beyond, this is the magic word, beyond test purposes, because, you know, I can see very clearly that children in my part of the world where I'm living, they learn English year in, year out, year in, year out. But once the knowledge is on paper at the end of the year, at the end of the term, or at the end of the year, it's like, where did it go? It just shifted on paper, and that's it. We lost it. They come back to school the next year, and you put effort again, as if they weren't taught before. And so strategies, teaching strategies is the most important thing. This is what helps them move beyond test purposes. This is what helps them and their parents and administration look at tests differently. It's not the paper test that is most important anymore, because we can support this test with so many other tests that are going on all the time. And so the point before this one, developing their thinking and self-management skills, is what is going to support their learning beyond test purposes. learning at both a challenging and a stimulating pace, definitely. Definitely. Once they understand that the purpose for their learning is for them to develop the language, to grow, to understand more, they will love it. The challenge will become enjoyable, and the pace, believe me, I have seen teachers who think that some content could be a little bit too much. We might not be able to cover it, but once you start with strategies and they learn with you step by step, you will see that it becomes so enjoyable. It becomes like you're all enjoying a game. You're playing something here, and you're getting beautiful results. And so the pace becomes faster. With Global Stage, we aim at multiplying the number of confident, self-independent, high-level achievers. Yes, we do. And it happens, it will. Hello, Nathan. I know that you want to join us for the next
of course,
next slide. Yeah.
Thank you very much for the session. It's so engaging. Everybody has been on fire in the chat box. Just so many like thoughts and ideas, people sharing their experiences. And I think that's what makes a really good, it's what makes a really good workshop, you know, that people are really engaging, sharing their experiences, sharing their ideas.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you.
It's been really nice to see, and thank you everybody who's been in there listening to Mab and getting involved, helping each other. We're all moving forward together. I mean, I think really to kind of summarize, I did put a summary slide in, which we can have a look at.
Mm-hmm.
But I think really, I mean, the two words that really came out were strategies. So making it about strategies and engagement, making assessment engaging, not just being this thing that we do at the end to test, to trick them, to trip them up. You know, how have you been doing the work? Have you been a good student throughout the week? But actually embedding that into everything, all of the teaching and learning that we're doing. Mab, I'm going to try and teach you something, because I don't think you need to use the mouse. So I think you can use the space bar to move along. It's a, we can see you clicking like the right hand key. Anyway, let's summarize. 2 minutes to summarize everything. So we've already covered all of this stuff. It takes place all of the time. Assessment for learning is embedded into everything that we're doing. Making those objectives, making those aims very clear for students, not excluding them from that process, hiding it away from them, but at the very beginning, showing them what we're going to be doing. What do you think about that? What questions do you have about that? And it's about finding out, learning about your students, observing them, and collecting a variety of information about them, which can inform each of their learning and progress. So like this, we've put being active in their own learning. We want them to be developing these self-directed skills, autonomous learning skills. So, you know, if you look at Global Stage, there's loads of things in there to help students do that. Can-do statements are in there. These personal learning goals are in there, reflecting on your progress. I put a couple of examples here. So you've got like my planning sheet. So thinking ahead, planning. And then at the end, you've got this think it over, which is reflecting. So it's all of the lesson. They're always thinking, they're always reflecting, they're always asking questions. Spacebar?
Yeah, sorry.
And again, we've mentioned this one already. Yeah. And that helps them with those critical thinking skills. The more questions they ask, the better they get at asking questions. And if they're asking questions to you, if they're asking questions to each other, they develop habits of good question, good critical thinking. And that, again, feeds into their academic progress. So they're not just learning vocabulary and grammar, they're actually developing as an academic student. And I put this example here, actually. So this is a like brainstorming activity, like a little chart that you could do. But how can we make this interactive, turn it into a student-centered activity? So, getting them to go around the room and asking the question to their peers rather than just sitting at their desk and filling in, the page by themselves. Making it interactive, making it collaborative helps them to develop those questions. And as they're doing that, you're monitoring them. You are assessing them using the language, using the activities, interacting with each other. And that's what assessment for learning is all about, right? Next one. Got two more. We did loads of stuff. I saw so many great comments about feedback and using it as a feed forward tool to motivate learners. And Mab, you have really good points here, making it goal related, making it user friendly, not just, here's your work back and it's got lots of red pen all over it. And some of it's spelling, some of it's grammar, some of it's task, making it focused. Okay, we're just going to be focusing on improving for you this week in this area. Make it nice and specific and make it consistent so that students pick up those strategies, as Mab was saying. And the last one, developing peer and self-assessment strategies. I meant loads of things here as well that Mab was talking about. I think, Mab, if you click, there's a few more examples from Global Stage. This one, and they're nice and colorful, they're bold, they're child-friendly. They get to the end, and as they do them through the book, they see them each unit. They're like, yeah, we're going to be doing about my favorite mistakes, and they can do them together. They can make it fun. It doesn't have to be a chore that we do at the end of the unit. We're making it nice and fun and interactive for them. Looking back, so we've got reflection, we've got planning, all of these types of things. And I think that's it. I think that was the last one. If you click, I think there wasn't another one. That was my kind of summary, my recap. And for you guys, your final reflection, I guess, as it's a workshop, is what ideas have you seen today that you might take away and try with your students? It might have been something in the presentation. It might have been something you've seen in the chat box. I saw loads of great ideas for activities in the chat box. So if you saw any of them, use them and come back to us and tell them how they went with your students. What did you find good? What did you find not so good? So that we can all learn and grow together. Mab, thank you very, very much. Thank you everybody for staying with us in this workshop. Mab, do you have any final thoughts or reflections?
Thank you very much. I would just like to thank everyone a lot for being with us this afternoon. I know I enjoyed it. I hope you did too. And so I'll see you next time.
Yes, and actually, while we're on that, Mab, because I saw that you enjoyed it very much, you have another session coming up in 2 weeks' time. No, 1 week. Next week. Yes, so we're going to be doing another session next weekend, and Mab's going to be looking at a totally different topic. You're going to be looking at, what is it about, Mab? Do you want to give us a teaser?
It's called Academy Stars, and it's another very, very enjoyable title. I know that I enjoy both Global Stage and Academy Stars a lot, and so I have a lot of information that I like to share with teachers, and because I myself was a teacher, I know what it's like and what they need, and so yeah.
Yes. And the topics, it's going to be about communicative.
Yes, thank you.
Communicative teaching, but bringing in that element of compassion and well-being, I think, right?
Yes, thank you. Yes, I haven't really, put the final topic out yet, but it's a sort of how to create this compassionate, communicative learner. Because Academy Stars, like Global Stage, really focuses on global citizenship also, and all the values throughout the books. Yes.
Excellent. Perfect. Well, we'll look forward to that next Saturday. Hopefully some of these people will join us. There was actually one question that somebody asked in the chat box. There's actually another one that's come up, but somebody said that obviously this was all about Global Stage, so it's all a primary course book, so it was all related to primary teaching and learning, which is absolutely fine. Someone was saying that they teach young adults. They teach, I think, maybe, I don't know if it was undergraduate or if it was like foundation level, you know, kind of very high teen. Would you say that these strategies are transferable, or are these really just related to primary?
I think they are. They could be, Nathan, because, you know, they're strategies for life. And so if you're teaching them to, you know, young learners, whether young learners or older learners, what you're helping them to do is, we had so many examples for critical thinking, for example. And so you're helping them to develop those strategies for as long as they're, you know, learning anything, not necessarily, by the way, another language. I mean, I found that if you teach your students how to apply those strategies in English, they will also apply them in Arabic. I had students who used those strategies while writing, for example, in Arabic, or critical thinking was really very impressive, that they started thinking critically in other subjects also. And so I think you can do it at any age and you can apply it. The key here is that you start from a very early age, so they get used to it. Remember the pace, because we want them to, when they learn it, they will move faster. And eventually they'll learn other strategies also.
Absolutely, yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, from the point of view of the person who's teaching undergraduates now, that probably doesn't help them very much because they're with those adult students at the moment. But I definitely think that those processes are transferable. Think about things like peer assessment. And again, with adults, we tend to make things very individualized, but we can actually get them to work on things. I've taught young adults and adults. And yeah, I mean, even things like writing, I would do process writing activities, make it part of a group. You know, you write something, pass it on, and then somebody has to peer assess it, pass it to another person, peer assessed. And it's all about making it better. It's not finding errors. It's like, okay, you've got this paragraph. How do you make it? How would you make this better? So that's giving them the reflective skills, because they have to analyze somebody else's work. And then by the time yours comes back to you, it's got all of these comments on it. And you can start to think about your writing from the reader's perspective, which of course is how we improve when we write. So yeah, I mean, get students interacting with each other, get them to do collaborative work. They can do that as well, and get them to self-assess. All of these types of strategies, I think they're very transferable.
Yeah, I agree.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mab. And we'll look forward to seeing you again next Saturday. For everybody who's been with us, thanks very much. I will send out the certificates during the week. It's the weekend for me now. So later this week, when I get a chance, I will send everybody their certificates with a follow-up email to the other sessions that we've got going on. But for now, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much, Mab. Enjoy the rest of the evening, and we will see you all again very, very soon. Take care.
Thank you, Nathan, for your support, and I hope you enjoy your weekend. Thank you, everyone. I loved all of your contributions.
Yeah, me too. Take care, everybody. Good night.
Good night. Bye.